we are discussing history of education and history of education in the Britain. This is our today topic. The Britain education system we are going to discuss because we are following the British course content. That's why we are going to discuss their history of education. By the way, in every country they have their own history of education. So, but specifically we are following the Britain education. We discuss in the previous lectures as well in the AS course. We discussed one of the terminologies that was the functional fit. Functional fit. This is something we discussed in the AS course, and what was that? But basically, there are three institutions which are very closely interlinked. Three social institutions are closely linked. And that one, number one, family. Number second, education. And number third, workplace. I'm just recalling it. In the functionalist perspective, we discussed that education playing a bridge role between workplace and the family. So what does it mean? Let me explain that how these social institutions are interlinked or closely related with each other. Now, if I talk about the family, education and workplace. If I talk about the function of the family, what family do? Family reproduce. Education provides some sort of education, or you might say skills, and workplace provide a financial advantage or financial support, something that we can say economic provision. Family reproduce, they go into the schools, get some education, and then on the basis of that particular education, they go into the workplace and get some economic provision. So what ultimately happened? Economic provision again will support the family, and family again reproduce. They will go into the education and again at the workplace. So now that's become a life cycle, or that's become a proper chain. So if I say in all these things, if anyone or any institutions, for example, is not performing well, both of the institution, either left side of the education or the right side of the education, will they be disturbed or not? When if I talk about the pre-industrial society, let's say in the pre-industrial society, there were extended families. And education were informal. Is that so? Education were informal education. And if I talk about the industry level, so that was an agriculture dominant societies. Agriculture mean you can say there were a primary sector. Now you can see this is the family, that was education, this is workplace. So what happened? That was a pre-industrial society. But when we move towards the industrial societies, when we move toward the industrial society, what ultimately happened? Families become a nuclear families with more specialized function, and education become formal education, and workplace, or you can say that was the rise of industrial system, or that was the rise of industry. Now you can see family, education, and workplace. Now you can see that whenever the workplace change, you can see the changes in the other institution as well. That's why we are saying that these institutions are closely associated with each other. But if you see in the example above, we mentioned that education is playing a bridge role between workplace and the family. Now you got that how this playing a bridge role, and in that example you can understand that whenever there is a change in the one institution, other institution will also change accordingly. So if is there any fault, or we can say is there any problem in the function of any institution, other institution will also affect. We were discussing about the history, so that was a basic idea you just have to keep in mind, because I will link it at the end of the lecture. So history, initially we divide the history of education in the Britain into three parts. Number one, 1949, that was Education Act system. We call it Education Acts. Then we move towards 1970, and this is education reforms. And third one is 1988. Again, these are education reforms. Initially, the system of education in the British is known as tripartite system. 1949 system, we said it's a tripartite system. Tripartite system. 1970 we said it's a comprehensive education system. It's tripartite education system, and 1970 it's comprehensive education system. Comprehensive education system. And 1988 we normally said some marketization of education. Marketization of education. Now I will discuss one by one. If I talk about the tripartite system, let's say this one. Tri mean three, and partites mean layers. That's mean that particular education system based on three different layers. Just to understand that what that system basically is all about, when you pass, you have to give an exam after 11 years of education. After 11 years of education, you give an exam. Okay, so ultimately either you are pass, you will be passed, or fail. If you are in the passing categories, then you will go into the grammar school. You go into the grammar school. Grammar school, you can say high, for the high academic education. High academic education. High academic education. Students go into the grammar school for the high academic educations, where they wears you know, the blazer kind of a dressings and all the stuff. That basically were expensive. No, or you can say that represent the cultural capital. cultural capital. I will let you know that how it representing the cultural capital. But if you are in the failing category, then you will be sent to secondary school system. You will be sent to secondary school system. Here they are producing a highly strategic employees in the grammar school. But in the secondary, low academic education, mean they will give you some narrow education, or they are producing non-manual worker. And what they will produce, non-manual worker mean just like clerk, the basic jobs you can get when you go into the secondary school.